all kinds of stuff. TarylFixesAll.com. Pick yourself up something today, and there's your dinner. Pterodactyl here. Today's video is going to be on this vintage Craftsman walk-behind mower. Look at this thing. Look at this weird space-age looking lawnmower. Do you ever see anything like this? This thing looks like it's from the Jetsons. Like George Jetson would have been cutting his space grass with this. Now, as I mentioned, it's a Craftsman, Sears Craftsman. But as I pointed out before, Sears is just a store. They don't make anything. Somebody made this lawnmower for them. And that company would be RPM Industries. And RPM stands for Rotoflow Power Mowers. And that engine on there, from the information that I found on the inner screen, is either a Sensation or a McClutchin. Get it, boy, get it. Oh, he's getting it. He's getting it a little bit. He got exhaust leak. Here, backfire. So this is either a Sensation engine or a McClutchin or a McCullough engine. It's a two-stroke. Now, this isn't original. Somebody added this. Somebody brazed this on there to strengthen the handle. And it's got the comb in the front, the little teeth. And most of them are broke off. We only got a couple teeth left. This is like grandma's teeth. Not like my teeth. My teeth are all there. They're just all jacked up. These teeth are missing, like grandma's. And it's a rear discharge mower. It shoots the grass out the back. Now this opening, I can tell, was only this big from here to here. Somebody, as you could see if you look real close, looks like they took a drill bit and drilled a series of holes in there so they could make this bigger, this discharge area. But isn't this an odd mower? And there's the tag, the Craftsman tag. We're going to stick it up on the bench. So we're going to try to get this thing running. This came from Gary, our friend Gary at H&R Pump. I mentioned him in another video. He's got a shop in Joliet, Illinois, and he's got a ton of new old stock parts. So we're gonna put his phone number and his address up there, and he will ship parts. He might have parts you're looking for, grass rats. But Gary gave this to me. Now, I know Gary could get it running, but he thought it'd be interesting to have Taryl get it running. So it has no spark. Now, there's absolutely no parts available for this thing unless you find another mower. So I'm hoping the no spark issue is just some dirty points. So maybe we'll get lucky and be able to clean the points and get spark out of it and put some dinosaur syrup, dinosaur cocktail in there, oil and gas mix, and see if we can get it running. But there's the tag. So let the cameraman get a shot of that. Get an up-close shot of that tag with the model number on it. Okay, I went ahead and cleaned this up so you could see that model number tag a little better. And you can actually see the color. This was painted black. And you can also see where they had made this discharge opening bigger. It was probably clogging up. So they probably wanted to open it up some. From all the information I seen on the inner screen about this mower, is it's supposed to be able to, you know, cut anything. Cut your grass and cut high weeds and all that stuff. It has just a single blade under there. Let's take a look underneath. Just a single blade. A big hub. Looks like a big kind of crankshaft stiffener maybe. The way this whole housing comes down to protect it. Look at that muffin on there. Look at that Art Deco type muffin. So from what I've seen on this is from the 1950s, sometime in the 50s. Well, like I said, it's got no spark. Gary told me it has no spark. I checked it. It didn't have any spark. Here's the spark plug that was in there. Let me, I thought I had a rag up here. From when I was cleaning. Let me see what this plug says. It says it's a J8 Champion. That's the old original plug. Champion J8. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the shroud, and we're going to take the flywheel off. It looks like I got to take these screws out here and there to get that cover off. The fuel line I got to remove. Try to speed this up for you. I need a bigger screwdriver for that. That's a pretty hefty screw there. Oh, there's another washer. Oh, they had a washer behind it. Is that how it is on this side too? Yeah. Looks like there's another washer behind there. Good thing I saw that. Well, we got the screw here. And a screw here. Now this has got the kind of fuel line. This is that same fuel line that was on that military generator that I did. That one generator engine had a fuel line like this on there. Oh, don't want to break that. Oh, there's some more screws. This one here. Guess there's a bunch of screws I gotta take out. Taking out this one here. Another one over here. There was one here, and there's the same one on the other side. Alright, that looks like it'll do it. Now I gotta pull that off. What is that, 3/4? Looks like it might be 3/4. Yeah. Now, some of these crankshaft nuts are left-handed thread, some are right-handed thread. That, from what I could see here, looks like it's just regular standard right-handed thread. We'll find out when I got to take this off. Yeah. Because if it didn't come off, then I would try going the other way. But it's regular right-handed thread. Now, will this come off now? Oh yeah. Yeah, there was a bunch of other screws holding it on there. Take a look in the tank. Oh, tank is clean. Maybe if we just get spark out of it, we can put the dinosaur cocktail in there and fire it up, fire it up, fire it up. So I need a knockoff tool. Do I have one up? Do I have one over here? Alright, I gotta go get my flywheel knockoff tool so we can pop this flywheel. Well, we got these cooling fins are pretty plugged up here. So if we get spark out of it, we're gonna have to take care of this mess. Because we want it to cool. And it's got a air vane governor. So I don't have a knockoff tool that'll screw on there, but this breaks and scrap them knockoff tool, flywheel knockoff tool with a piece of brass down in there, that fits perfect on there. So I'm going to take this screwdriver because I want to put a little pressure on this. See if this bigger screwdriver will fit. Yeah, I'm going to use this bigger one. I can get more leverage on it. I'm going to pry up on that and I'm going to turn it about 180 degrees. There we go. Give it a good sharp blow. Flywheel came right off. And here's our ignition system. Now, this points and condenser down here don't look familiar to me at all. So I have no idea what points in that would work for this, or what coil. But if you notice, the flywheel is just a flywheel. There's no magnets or anything on it. Here's our magnets, and here's our laminations. See, the magnet's right here. So the points are opening and closing. And from what I could see, there's my little light again. What I could see is these points look like they are pretty corroded. All right, let me get some sandpaper. Here, I got a little piece here that I've been using. This is like 400 grit. So what's nice about this is I don't really have to put the flywheel back on to check for spark, because here's our magnets. You know, like a traditional small engine that's got the magnets on the flywheel, I'd have to put that back on there and spin it and check it for spark. See if we can get them to look shiny again. I really had to sand these. I had to go back in with some 150 sandpaper, and then I had to hit it again with the 400 Then I sprayed some carb spray in there, and I used a piece of paper and cleaned them real good. And another thing I like to do is I like to snap them. Make sure they're getting good contact. So now, Mr. Cameraman, you're going to have to help me here, I think. Because I want to hold that back. Oh no, it'll stay on its own. And I'm going to use a drill to spin this. And then we're going to see if we got any spark with my trusty spark tester, which we sell in our online store. You may want to get one of these. It's the most accurate way of Oh, I seen a spark. There we go. We got sparkage. All right. So since I was spinning that blade the opposite way, I want to make sure that bolt is still tight, that I didn't loosen it. All right. We got spark. So I'm going to go ahead and clean all this nastiness out of here. And I'll go ahead and put the flywheel back on and put the blower shroud all back on. And then we'll spray a little dinosaur cocktail down in here and see if we can get it to run and die. And then we'll just try putting some fuel in it and see what happens. Hopefully the carburetor is clean and we don't have to take that all apart and clean it. Maybe we'll get lucky. Alright, I got it put back together. And I've removed the oil bath air filter that's on there. And I was hoping there might have been something on there that might have told me what engine is on it. But I guess they made these for a bunch of different manufacturers because it doesn't really say anything other than it's a United Specialties company. United Oil Bath Air Cleaner. So to turn this thing on and off, it all works off of this knob here, or this lever, whatever you want to call it, which is attached directly to the high-speed needle on the carburetor. So you're shutting it off by shutting the fuel off to the carburetor, because that's why it says off, and then it says lean, and then it says rich. And I've got the original plug in it. I hope it's not fouled. And I got my little squirt can here that's got some 2-cycle cocktail already mixed up in it. So we'll give it a good shot. Place left foot here when starting engine. So I got my left foot there. You put your left foot here, you wrap the rope around here, you give it a pull and you shake it all about. Come on, baby. Woo! It lives. It will live again. All right, so let's hook the fuel line back up. Oh, I don't like the sound of that. Hose cracking, crackling hose. And we'll pour some juice in there. And I'll take out the drain for the carburetor so we can let it run through. And we'll see if this thing will live on its own. I'm going to clean this sediment bowl first before I send any fuel through this fuel system. Well, this sediment bowl is leaking. That gasket's probably hard as a carp. Luckily, I've got some new ones. The ones from the brakes and scrap them look about to be about the same. So I'm going to have to change that. But I want to take out this drain screw on this float bowl here and see if we got any fuel to run through it. And there's nothing coming out. So I'm sure this carburetor is try to back flush it with some carb spray and see what happens. Nope. I'm getting gas. Gas going through this sediment bowl? Nope. I got this valve opened all the way. So gas should be coming out of here. And it's not. Alright, let me take this thing apart and see what's going on with that. So this rubber gasket, hard as a carp, and I don't think this screen, I don't think you can, any fuel will even pass through that. That's why it was not coming through. So let me clean this up and get a new gasket and put it all back on, and then we'll see if we can get some fuel to go through it. Alright, let's see if this thing works. I had to mix up some new 2-cycle. Oh, it's working. Now let's see if it'll flow out of the bottom of the carburetor. It should come out of here. Yep. It's coming out. Let's just hope the float's not stuck open. Alright, here's the little screw I took out of there. I don't want to lose that. This is basically, it looks like that same carburetor that was on that military generator that I did a few months ago. It's going to be the hard part. May have to get my I'm going to have to get my screw starter. Alright, I got it with my little screw starter. If you haven't seen one of these, they used to sell them at Sears. I don't know if they still do anymore. But it's got this little tip on it. And you put the slot of the screw in there, and then that little thing holds it. And then on the other end, it's got a magnet. It's got a number on it, 41024. I've had this thing for, geez, probably 40 years. Alright, let me open it. And we'll know if that needle isn't holding, because the throat of this carburetor will fill up with gas. So far it's not leaking there. I don't see anything in there. But again, who knows? The float may be stuck, closed, could be stuck open. I got a rag here. Oh yeah, this fuel line is leaking. But again, I don't have one. You know, this has got crimped ends on it, and you can see it's leaking. Maybe it'll be long enough just so we can get it running, or see if we can get it running. Otherwise, my only alternative would be to find some fittings that'll screw in there that have a hose barb on the end, and then just put a piece of traditional fuel line on there. But it's weeping. All right, let's get it on the ground, and I still don't see nothing in here. Let's get it on the ground and see if we can get it started. Let's close. Let's put it on rich. It does have a choke. Which way is choke? I'm going to guess and say forward. Put my left foot here, do the hokey pokey. Try opening that needle a little more. Got a feeling this carburetor is going to be coming apart. So I needed to reposition that knob. Because as you could tell, when I was turning that knob, it was killing the motor. And I guess that's as fast as it runs. Unless that muffkin's plugged up. But it runs. We got it running again. Other than that leaky fuel line. So then I had to use that offset screwdriver to tighten that screw. So that way when I turned it to that off position, it went off. And then when I turned it back to Rich, it's still like a little bit in here. Let me loosen it up some. I gotta pull it away from here because it was hitting on the panel. But we got lucky. These modern carburetors, they sit 5 months with fuel in them and they will not start. You got to take them all apart and clean them. And here this thing's 70 years old or older. And all we did was clean up the points real good. Put a gasket on that sediment bowl. And I'll have to look and see if I can rig up a fuel line. Let me do that. Let me look into that, and then we'll start it up again. See if I can replace this fuel line. It'd be nice if I had one of these. You know, there was one on that other generator, but I gave that other military generator that I had. I gave that back to Uncle Pat because he wanted it, and I'm like, well, what am I going to do with it? Not realizing that it's got that same fuel line on there. But let me take that fuel line off and see if I can come up with a solution. All right, so to keep in theme with it from the period of when this was made, you know, they would use something like this, or they would have ran some copper tubing to it. So I dug around in my stuff and I found some compression fittings and some 3/16 brake line, and I was able to make a new one, and it kind of looks like, you know, from the period it was. Otherwise I would have had to put 1/8 hose barbs in there and then put a regular piece of 1/4-inch fuel line. But hey, this is better. So let me put that this air filter back on it. Air bath, oil bath. It's still got its gasket in there. It's not like anybody's going to actually be using this. We got it running, and it'll go back to Gary, and Gary will probably put it on display in his shop. All right, let me get it on the floor, and we'll open the valve up and see if it starts again. All right, let me open this to that rich position. I know which way the choke goes now. It goes back towards me. Put it to the off position, it goes right off. Woo! saved another one! See? It's not that hard to fix these things. I make it look easy, don't I? Just had to clean them points real good, sand them real good. Got spark out of it. We got lucky on the carburetor. So this old girl really didn't take much. Too bad. Well, probably have to take her to the dentist, get some implants put on. I noticed this handle bolt was falling off. I need to put a lock nut on there. Well, it needs a shoulder bolt. Maybe I can scrounge up a couple of shoulder bolts that'll fit in there real nice like. But it's not original anyway, because they added this, somebody, to strengthen the handle. And, you know, it could use a set of wheels, and I mean, it could be cleaned up. It's just this thing with the teeth missing. But it could be fixed up and made to look original again. It runs. It's pretty quiet. Don't appear to be plugged up. You know, these things back in the day, they didn't run very high RPMs. You know, so that's why it's safe to use that modern synthetic oils on these, because they're not revving real high like a chainsaw. You know, a chainsaw revs 10,000 RPMs or more. These modern ones. This old stuff, you know, this only running at probably 3,000 RPM, 3,200 if that. So it's not going to hurt it. Put that synthetic. They wanted you to use motor oil. Regular engine motor oil is what they told you to mix with this back in the day, because they didn't have any two-cycle oil formulated yet. And these things would run on that motor oil, which gasoline kind of works against the motor oil, the lubrication properties, when you got gas mixed in there. That's why they came up with two-cycle. Kind of help, you know, fight against that, you know, trying to destroy the lubrication properties by mixing it with the gas. So, yeah, we got another one running. Well, there you have it, grass rats. Saved another one. Isn't this the weirdest looking thing you ever seen? I'm sure there's some weirder looking mowers than this out there, but this thing is pretty weird looking. So I'm interested to see what you say in the comment section. So comment below on this one. Check out our web store. We got all kinds of stuff there. Like this. This would look good on you. This is a good looking sweatshirt. This is a sweatshirt. It's not a t-shirt, it's a sweatshirt. And this hat. Maybe you want this hat. Maybe you want the whole setup. Go to our web store, check it out. There's other stuff there too. Something there you may want. Maybe you want one of them spark testers. We got them. Actual OEM brakes and scrap them ones. That's what you want. Follow me with your antique lawnmowers. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. And as always, there's your dinner. Woo! Old lawnmower lives again. Woo! Woo! With the original spark plug. So I save all shoulder bolts when we strip these old tractors and junk them. When we go and junk mowers, we save a lot of hardware. You may have heard me mention this before. So this is a shoulder bolt. I believe it's for a cover on an engine. It's an engine cover. And it fit exactly in there. The threads are 1/4-20, which is what he had in there, 1/4-inch bolts. But the shoulder part fits perfect in there. Look at, there's plenty of shoulder. And I had 2 of these. So there you go, grass rats. Another reason when you're stripping and getting rid of stuff, springs, shoulder bolts, hardware, save all that stuff. And there's your tip of the day. There's your hors d'oeuvre, not dinner. There's your snack. Shoulder bolt snack. Well, I guess that needle and seat didn't hold on this thing, because I came in the next morning and there was gas all over the place that leaked out. And as you could see where it leaked out the carburetor, it actually uncovered, I guess the actual color of the mower was green, and I said it was black. And you can actually see the color. This was painted black but it was green. So I ended up having to take the carburetor apart. And the needle, I've never seen a needle wore this bad before. You're going to have to zoom in on this, Mr. Cameraman. Look at the tip. Look at how it wore that down. Look at it. It wore that thing down that much. I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, is it supposed to look like that? Or is it just that wore down? So I looked under a magnifying glass and it was wore down. Then I sprayed some layout dye on there, that blue dye, and kind of lapped it into the seat to see where it was wearing, and it was wearing right in there. And I'm like, all right, this needle isn't supposed to look this way. So then I tried my lapping it with lapping compound trick, which I've done before, and all it did was make it leak worse. When I put it all back together, gas was just pouring out immediately. But as you can see, when I got done getting it running, it didn't leak. So it took a little while for it to leak the next day. So now I got to find this needle for this thing. How am I going to find a needle for it? So this is all stuff I saved. And this is mainly for two-stroke chainsaws and weed eaters. This is just a bunch of stuff from kits and stuff that I've collected over the years that you don't need to use. So I thought, let me go through this thing and see if I can find a needle that'll work. So here's a needle I found in there. That's about the same length. It's got the rubber tip on it. About the same diameter. I thought, well, what do I got to lose? Otherwise, I'm going to have to shut the gas off every time. And it worked. The gas has been on. The throat of the carburetor hasn't filled up with fuel. But another thing I found when I took it apart was, it had this cover right here. This cover that went over this part of the carburetor, which covered the air vane governor. And this spring, somebody had just had it like stretched over this. Because I noticed, after I got it running, it seems like it should run a little faster. So when I uncovered this, I thought, okay, this is how they adjust the engine speed. So the spring, I don't know if this is even the original spring, but it did work. But it seemed like it was a little long. And if you know anything about governors, the more tension you put on the spring, the higher RPM you get. So I cut some segments out of this, and I rebent the end. And then I added these flat washers to this. Because I didn't want this to bind up in the spring and the nut. So now, when you turn the screw, it'll bring that nut in and it'll put more tension on that spring and it'll raise the RPM. So where I got it set now, it works really good. So all I have to do is just put this cover back on to cover that. But I left that off to show the grass rats what I found. Now, I know what you're saying. You're like, Taryl, I wish I could have seen how you took that carburetor apart. I'm very interested in that carburetor. All right. Let me just show you a few things right here. Very simple carburetor. If you take this brass plug out right here, that gives you access to the needle and seat. This brass screw right here, that's your hinge pin for your float. So if you take this screw out, it's real long, it's about that long. That's what's going through the float for the hinge. If you take one of these carburetors apart, when you take the 4 screws off that hold the float bowl on, the float bowl will not come off unless you take this high-speed needle adjustment out. So you have to take this out first. And then that's a long needle that goes in there. You take that out, you take the 4 screws out, and the float bowl will drop off out of there. Another thing I discovered is I'm pretty sure this is a McCulloch engine. And the only reason I think that is it's got the same carburetor nuts that we did on that Mac 15 video a few weeks ago. Because these locking nuts got those same little triangular points on it, like the ones on that Mac 15 chainsaw that we did. So that led me to believe that, okay, this is probably a McCulloch engine on there. I want to keep calling it McCulloch. So I was able to boost the RPMs on it. So we're going to start it one more time to show you how much faster it's running. Stay tuned. Hold on. Hold on to your seats. Hold on to your hat. Hold on to whatever you want to hold on. All right, I got to turn this on to that rich position. Pull it back to choke. Put my left foot here. Do the hokey pokey. And we'll start it all about. See how much better it runs? Runs real good now. And look at that. Oh, there's another thing. Look at this throttle shaft. Look at that throttle shaft. It's wore out. And it still runs good. Whoever had this mower, they must have used the crap out of this thing. And it still runs. It's amazing. Yeah, you know it's sucking air through there. But I ain't got no fix for that. Other than to try to manufacture a new one. Or find another carburetor. Like I said, it's the same as what was on that military generator. So Gary, who owns this from H&R Pump, and Uncle Pat are good friends. So maybe Uncle Pat will give him the carburetor off of one of those other military engines he's got. If they decide to use it. But it runs good the way it is. So there's a little added appetizer. It's not a full dinner, it's just an appetizer. You know, it's like some shrimp cocktail or some Beretta. You like that Beretta? Am I saying that right? Bruschetta? That stuff, that's like an appetizer too. But yeah, it runs good. Now we got to give it back to Gary. And there's your appetizer.